When you speak about your husband like that, when you're not even referring to the marriage as my husband, but then you're saying him,
Yes.
it almost appears as if he had no value in your life.
I wouldn't say that he has no value. The reason I refer to him as him is because it's been a very traumatic time for me, and referring to him as husband does something to me internally. There's a lot of trauma there, and the only way for me to be able to refer to him without feeling that trauma every time is to refer to him as him rather than husband. It's not even a reflection on him per se. It's more about the trauma that I feel and how the best way for me to deal with that.
You've spent more than 18 years with this man.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just finding it hard to believe that all those times that you've spent with him, you can't even list about 20 good things that this man has done for you.
Okay. That's a really tough question. He's done some amazing things. He really, really has. And I believe that even though it was a very difficult, painful time for me, I appreciate the journey that I went on, because the journey was for nothing. Nothing in life happens without a very good reason. And so he was there to play a role in my life at that particular time. But then it got to a point where I couldn't continue the journey with him, and something had to change. And I'm not here to lay blame and say that I'm an angel and I've done nothing wrong, because there's always two sides to every story, and I cannot sit here and say that I'm blameless. He's done things that were very painful to me. I'm sure I've done things that were painful to him. There's definitely been an exchange in that way, but in regards to listing qualities, sometimes I think that's very difficult to do when you have a good thing and a bad thing rubs it off, if that makes sense.
Well, I guess it's in human nature, right? To almost forget all the good things that a person has done,
Yeah.
and just focus on one or two bad things that someone has done.
Yeah.
And I appreciate the fact that you've put your experience in a book and trying to advise people and also as a therapy for you as well.
Yeah.
But for me, people are only hearing your story. Do you currently think, even though you guys are no longer together, you have enough respect for him, at least for fathering the children that you have?
I think, yes, there is a level of respect for that. But I think fathering children is not enough. I think when it comes to these things, you have to remain consistent. You can't give someone a child and almost not follow through. And I think that's where the disconnect is there for me personally. I think that no matter what happens between two people, when it comes to the children, that should always remain consistent, no matter what. And I feel like that hasn't really happened this time round. So in terms of, if you're talking about respect, for me, that loses a certain level of respect if you can't maintain that same level of engagement.
When you guys moved to Ghana, I watched a few videos that you did with Maya. And I could tell from the camera, I mean, you guys must have done some editing, but from the camera, you guys looked like a good family. Fast forward down the line, you are on this channel all by yourself. Now, do you think that regardless of everything that this man has done to you and the kids, he was part of your growth? He was the reason why you are championing yourself today.
Absolutely.
He's caused you to grow so much. Would you agree to that?
Absolutely. Definitely. 100% agree. 110% agree with that, yes. Growth only happens during tough times. Growth doesn't happen when things are easy. As I said before, he was there to pushed me through something that I needed to sort of go through. So before we met and we got married, I would say I was very shy, very, very timid. And he brought me to a level that I needed to be at. But then I needed to go further. I needed to go beyond that. And I have to say he definitely brought out some he brought out some qualities in me that I didn't know were there. He definitely forced me to really think about my life and what I was doing and the direction that I wanted to take it in. A lot of self-reflection has happened from being in the marriage and even after the marriage, and that self-reflection wouldn't have happened if he wasn't there. So it's part of my journey.
Just for your subscribers and the people that love your content, what do you think that you did wrong in the marriage that caused the breakdown of it?
Oh, I did many things wrong in the marriage. I'm no angel, believe me. I am not a perfect person. I say it all the time, I am imperfect. I think my communication wasn't always the best. I think I was dealing with a lot of things that I hadn't necessarily admitted to myself at the time when I should have been. And therefore, perhaps my ex was then dragged into some of that. I mean, I talk about it in a lot more detail in the book. And I've had to be very honest to myself, which has been very hard, about my own faults, because I have a lot of faults. He has a lot of faults too, but I have a lot of faults. And I just want to make clear that in writing this book, this is not a book that is focused on him. This is a book that is focused on the experience, because I feel that the journey has just been such an up and down one. It has been very painful. And I feel as though a lot of people have gone through this journey, but gone through it in silence. And I'm not really in agreement with that, because I feel like I always say experiences are there to be shared. And so in the book, I definitely dive into some very honest, brutally honest things. I think in the book, I've been more honest about things than I've ever said to anybody openly before. So you're going to see a lot of that in the book. And it's probably quite a difficult book to read, because some of the things that I've said will probably cause people to reflect on their own lives as well. And that's the point of it. It's not about me being out here and talking about just myself and the book being about me and my life. That's not what the book is for. The book is to share the experience.
After 18 years, the past few years, you've gone through tremendous amount of change.
Yeah.
You've grown so much. And I say, to some extent, you've had the chance to grow. Do you think you gave your husband the time to also grow?
I think he definitely had his opportunity to grow. And I believe that he didn't necessarily grab the opportunity with both hands. I believe that when we moved to Ghana, we could have done some amazing things together. Or maybe we had to do those things separately. I don't know. You'll find out in the book. But I think we all have our opportunity to grow, and it's for us to take that by the horns and run with it. And I think at the time, I hadn't necessarily done that fully myself. I had started making steps towards doing that, but I think it was a journey that I needed to take by myself. And once I had the guts to take that journey myself, I was able to then be propelled forward. And I think that maybe I wouldn't have been able to go on that journey with him, because we would have been at different levels, on different paths. We weren't aligned in order to be able to go forward together for reasons you'll find out in the book.
Did you ever love this man?
Eesh. Wow. I had a love. It's in the book. At the tender age of 24, I believed that walking down the aisle was the start of my fairy tale life. I was convinced that I'd found the person who would finally offer the stability and security that I yearned for my entire life. My dreams were grandiose, fueled by the idyllic families that I'd seen on TV. I never doubted for a moment that my dream would not become reality. Determined to make my vision come true at all costs, I plunged into marriage with unwavering resolve. My longing for stability had deep roots. When my father left the UK for Ghana, around the time I was 14, it created a void that nothing seemed to fill. Although my father remained in my life and my parents stayed married, the family's core felt irreparably broken. Life lost its previous sense of wholeness, leaving me in search of something to fill that emptiness. At 18, seeking independence and escape, I moved out of the family home and into a hostel, where I received my very first rude awakening into the real world. 2 years later, I was offered my own apartment. Filled with great anticipation, I embraced this new chapter, believing it marks the beginning of my personal journey into adulthood. Yet the persistent void quickly reappeared. One day, a college friend invited me to church. Reluctantly, I went, but to my surprise, I found a sense of community and belonging that I'd never experienced before. I seamlessly integrated into this new family, soon taking on roles and responsibilities within the church. It was within this newfound sanctuary that I met him. After a brief courtship of just 1.5 years, we got married, stepping into what I hoped would be our happily ever after. The first 2 years of marriage were blissful. Our friendship was strong and life felt promising. But soon, we encountered our first major problem, a challenge that threatened to put our marriage on the rocks. We managed to overcome this initial hurdle, and 5 years into marriage, we were expecting our first child. It seemed as though my dreams of the perfect family were finally coming together. However, life took a tougher turn. 10 years into marriage, now with 3 children under the age of 5, the pressure mounted. Seeking a fresh start, we as a family moved to Ghana in April 2014, hoping to begin a new chapter. Instead, I was faced with a very harsh reality: infidelity, emotional trauma, and self-doubt shattered all my dreams. The following 8 years were grueling, marked by grandiose plans that never materialized and a life far from my expectations. Financial troubles deepened, and with a 4th child on the way, the strain became really unbearable. Tough decisions loomed. Either we had to turn our financial situation around or return to the UK. Miraculously, we managed to stabilize our finances, but another, more insidious issue began to surface. This unseen problem grew until I found myself a mere shadow of the person that I once was. Neglecting my appearance, burned out, and generally a mess. I felt something was deeply wrong but lacked the words to articulate my pain. The 24-year-old who had once dreamed of being the perfect mother and wife was slipping away. This painful journey forced me into profound self-reflection about my youthful decision to marry and whether I'd actually chosen the right partner. Secrets and unspoken issues could no longer be ignored. In March 2022, after 18 years of marriage, I had reached my breaking point. Tensions finally erupted and we separated, much to the shock of those around us. I mustered up the courage to choose myself and embark on a life of freedom. 18 years from I do to What Did I Do delves into the turbulent marriage and the challenges faced by young couples today in a society that equates marriage with success and wholeness. This book provides candid insights into my personal struggles, highlighting my mistakes and the red flags that I overlooked, which eventually proved detrimental to my marriage. It's a no-nonsense, painful, honest reflection on love, marriage, and communication. I share my story to help others make thoughtful decisions before committing to marriage and to engage in living authentically, free from the fear of judgment. I believe too often we live for others and their opinions, silencing ourselves to avoid offending. This must change. I take you through my journey of starting over, rediscovering myself, and healing from the traumatic scars of a broken marriage. I offer practical advice and solutions to helping others avoid the many pitfalls that I encountered. I pray that this book will give you some insight and help you along your own journey.
I know it's possible. He says it's impossible without him, but I know it's possible to finally